what I want to do today, I'll give you a little bit of my story and how I ended up at Holy Family. I also want to share some of my ministry tools. Some of you may not know I do spoken word poetry. I'm a storyteller, and this is one of the ways that I reach the youth, and not just the youth, but reach in all of my audiences. I also have poems that I've self-published. Story. I brought one of my books, Pencil and Pen, which is a poem that I do want to share with you. One of them today, and we'll just kind of free flow with it. There'll be a question and answer time. I have Miss Cynthia Schmidt. She'll come up and share some reflections with you from the children, and we'll just see how it goes. We're going to flow and do this thing together.
And
Amen?
you can buy the books.
Yes. I encourage you to do that.
Today, you can buy the book?
Yes, today.
Cash only.
But I will take your card. No, I'm just teasing. No, but here's a poem that I wrote. It's called Pencil and Pen, and it goes like this. Pencil was passive, preferring peaceful pursuits of penmanship. Pen was pushy, plotting to promote his power on paper. Now, Pen picked on Pencil, poking fun at his point, but Pencil showed patience and politely said, "Please, let me pass." But Pen gave Pencil a push that broke his poised posture. Pestered by this problem, Pencil prepared to pack a powerful punch to pound and pulverize the pest, but decided to pause. And remember, such a practice was prohibited by his personality. He said to himself, "I'm a preaching pencil, providing positive possibilities for the people. I've been in the hands of any prophets, priests, popes, and pastors who parade the pulpit, proclaiming the precious promise of peace with power, like Peter and Paul. I've helped print passages and paragraphs, pages of proverbs and parables, all to promote God's praise. So I must be persistent in my pursuit of peace." So Pencil said to Pen, "Pardon me, but what's your purpose? Is this pressure a plan to protect your pride?" "No," said Pen, "my process is progress, to propel my popularity to the pinnacle of proud potential, plus puncture and plunder all piles of plain paper for my pleasure." "I see," said Pencil. "May I make a proposal?" Pen said, "Proceed." "Peep this," said Pencil. "Perhaps the path you pave is pretentious. Your presumption is that you prevail in the presence of the public, but in private, you ponder your poor perception of prosperity and discover that pride is your prison." "Punk, please," said Pen. "I'm prone to produce peak performance, predestined for the prize. I'm proactive, prolific, and profound, and I'm bound for prominence, partner. Not to mention my past, I was the property of pimps, players, and crooked politicians. Modern-day pirates who pick pockets at poker parties. I've signed fake passports, written profanity in playgrounds, and helped pupils pass term papers through plagiarism. I had a rough past. It was pathetic, but I learned to push my way to paradise." "Ah, but there's a penalty in pushing," said Pencil. "What penalty?" said Pen. "When that push pummels your peers to the pavement." "So," said Pen, "I must provide for my pleasure. My prospect takes precedence when it comes to the pursuit of my pedestal." "I see," said Pencil. "But when your bold point is through, what then will you pursue?" Pen was silent, because this was a potential problem that he had previously predicted, but he was paralyzed by a lack of solution to prevent it. So Pencil continued. He says, "Now what does it profit? Pen, just think to gain the whole paper but forfeit your ink." See, perseverance has its place when its partner is prudence. It might seem a peculiar package, but it's potent when practiced properly. Maybe you're a bit perplexed by this puzzle, but it's positively pure and practical, and I've got proof. I once was a pen. "But you're a pencil," said Pen. "I know, but I used to be a pen. My past was pretty pitiful. Anything but proper. I was a procrastinating, prejudiced, premature, perverted punk with no principles on a prelude to the pits. But then I met this prince who told me of a promise and how he paid the price for my past. He was punished for my penalties, then pulled up to paradise where he prepares a place for me at this present time. You see, he changed me from a pen whose ink was permanent into a pencil whose mistakes could be erased." See, Pen, you don't have to play the part of a pushy pen. You can be a pencil and partake in the precious privileges of his peace. But how, said Penn? By simply accepting his gift. Precious gift to make you a pencil. That's it. Precisely. See, pencil is just pen with C-I-L at the end. That's true, said Penn, but what's C-I-L? Christ is leading. That's the difference between your past and your future. Christ is leading. This powerful proclamation penetrated the heart of Penn, and pooped by his previous pain, Penn permitted pencil to point him towards the proper path. So they prayed and began to praise. Then these two pals played on pieces of purple paper with passion. Then Penn produced a puffy pink eraser at his base. Look, pencil, an eraser is now in its place. But what should I call it? And pencil said, Grace. Then something peculiar popped out of his head. Penn said, whoa. Then pencil said, as a pen, you were the leader. As a pen, you were the head. But now that you're a pencil, it's time to be led. And if there's time, hopefully throughout the talk, I maybe do another couple of poems. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
All right, amen. So that's one of the ways that I speak, if you will, or get my message across. It's joy for me to do it the way that I do it. When someone asks me, why do you do poetry? It's like walking from A to B, or you can skip. You know, I don't skip as much as I used to. But you know, I can skip, and see, I'd rather skip. And anyone can just tell the story, but I like to, how can I make this thing fun? And how can I make it pop? And how do I see it? And how is it coming to me? And that's joy for me. I can't even explain just what I really get from it. I asked myself one day, what part of it do I enjoy the most? The conception, writing it in the middle and not quite knowing where it's going to go, or when it's all done? And I can't figure it out. I love it all. But let me tell you a little bit about my story. Grew up in Chicago, primarily on the west side of Chicago. My church, Holy Family Church, is in Cabrini Green. I feel like I grew up there too because I spent a lot of time in that community as well. But I moved about 16 times before college. I am not a part of a military family. It's just, it's time to go. We get up, we move, another apartment, another situation. Had stepfathers in the picture. I'm the oldest of the four in the immediate family, and I took on a lot of responsibility early, much more than any child should have to take on. I had to be part-time brother and sometimes father, trying to cook and trying to watch after my siblings and referee between parents fighting. I saw everything from alcoholism, drugs, and even domestic violence. It wasn't easy. It was a hard road. I know what it's like to look in the refrigerator and only see a jar of pickles and some mayonnaise and wonder how you're going to get this meal together. But I don't regret my journey. I thank God for every moment. I thank God for every challenge and every thing that I had to face. One constant in my life was Holy Family Church. Holy Family Church, that was before it was Holy Family in my church. It was Ma Fanny's church. Ma Fanny is my great aunt, and she used to live in Cabrini Green, and then she moved to the west side. But she had this church, this nice church in Cabrini Green, and when we would go visit her sometimes on Easter and Christmas time. I like when on Easter you go down and give you a little baggie with an egg in it. I thought that was the coolest thing. Then they had this thing called a children's sermon, which I wasn't used to, and you sit down and you get to really ask questions. I thought all of that stuff was cool. Holy Family took me and embraced my family. And after a while, my Fanny's church became my church. Out of all the times we moved and all the places we went, we always knew how to get to Holy Family. I knew how to catch the train. I knew how to get on the bus from all these different directions. That was the one place, my center. And there, the mirroring of self-worth took place. Powerful. I never really understood how important that was. do that again. That's power for a child. It helps you to, it gives you permission to assert yourself. Are y'all with me? Holy Family did it well. I had a great pastor, Pastor Charles D. Enfeld, and he knew the importance of the applause. As I got older, I not only I understood what it was, but as I got older now that I'm in ministry and I'm teaching children, I really see just the potency of it. I remember when let me tell you a story. I might jump around a bit. I hope you don't mind. Is that okay? But as it comes to me, I remember I was in a foot race. And what we would do, we would get in the middle of the street, make sure no cars are coming, and we would race from light pole to light pole. And I'm a short guy, but I was pretty fast. You know, now I'm not, not so fast, unless you put a cheeseburger at the finish line. So here's the thing. I remember this guy. His name was James, and he was a little bit taller than me, but I was faster than him. And I knew I was faster than him, but see, here we were in this race, and his family were all on the porch. And I know he can't beat me. He's a little tall, but I'm quick. He can't beat me. I'm like Speedy Gonzalez. He can't beat me. And so we said, on your mark, and said, go. And I take off. I got a good first step. You know that first step? Anybody know about that? You get that first step, you take that hard. Because, I got to catch up. No, you can't. You can't catch. And so I took off, and I started running, and I knew I had him. And then something happened. The people on the porch, powerful. They said, come on, James. Go, James. You can do it, James. And when I heard that, I don't know what happened. Because I know I'm faster than him. I know I can beat him. I've done it before. But what happened this time? I was still running with all that I had, or was I? Either it fueled him or it deflated me. But he won that day. And I said, doggone it. And then I realized that power behind affirmation. So Holy Family did that for me, and I said I wanted to do that for other children. And that's what I'm doing now. One of the things that Holy Family had, Holy Family Church. When I say Holy Family, I have to distinguish because we have Holy Family School and we have Holy Family Church. I grew up in the church, and I was a part of the precursor to Holy Family School, which was First Bethlehem in 1985. I was in 5th grade, and that fall in 1985, the school, Holy Family School, was officially founded. And so I got a chance to be a part of that first group before the school kicked off. Now, there was a group that was given to me called Boys in the Hood. And when I graduated I went to Concordia University, graduated, and then came on full time at the church. They said, listen, we know that you're into ministry, and if you want to come on, work along Pastor Enfeld and work here with the youth group and with the Boys in the Hood, we would love for you to do that. I said, absolutely. They said, by the way, there's a spot to do chapel. We know this is kind of up your alley. I said, yeah, sign me up. And so here I was. One group that I had, Boys in the Hood, these were young guys from the community in the project buildings, where I would meet with them once or twice a week. And my job was just to sort of be a mentor to them, a big brother, if you will. Taking all that I had learned about affirmation and taking all that I learned about mirroring of self-worth and giving permission, letting them borrow my eyes. You know what it means to let your child borrow your eyes, that you see things in them before they can. And I was able to do that for them and say, no, you can do this. See, here's the thing. When a person that I've learned, especially growing up in the hood, when they don't feel like they're adequate, what they do is say, that's lame. Oh, that's for sissies. That's weak. But what they're really saying is, don't expose me. I don't want you to know that I don't feel like I can do that. And you're putting me on the spot. So my job was, how can I help to build this assertive behavior like it was done for me? One of the things that we would do challenges. Crazy little challenges like, okay, we got teams over here. Who can build this structure, bless you, with these soup cans and do it this way with, little puzzles and things. And so they would try to figure it out. And at first they want to give up, like, man, this is crazy. No, come on, you can do it. And when they would finally get it, and they said, I got it. I was like, this is perfect. And I would seize that moment. and I would take that experience and put it in a library so I can go back to later. The next challenge that they would have, and they felt like giving up, I said, no, remember that time? You were the one that figured it out. I pull it off the shelf. See, remember? And they couldn't, and you said we should, and he said, yeah, you're right. Okay, I'll stick with it a little bit longer. And then they get it again. Yeah, that's right. And so after a while, without them even knowing, they build this little library of successes. What we want them to do, and what was done for me, is that you go into life unafraid. You go into life and challenges don't scare you away. They perk you up. You're ready to go for it. And you say, wait a minute, okay, I don't have a job, I need an apartment, I don't have any money, and so let's go. It's not always easy, but that's the goal. And that's what we're shooting for. And much of that starts with this. You ever see a child light up when you affirm them? Mm-hmm. That's one of the greatest gifts I get to give my boys. I live for it. Even when I'm tired, I come in the door and they say, I say, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? Come here, boy. And I want to just flood them with that. Because in a sense, that's what happened for me. And it combated the pain. There were times when as I got older and I would see my mother being abused. It's one thing when you're a child, when you begin to get older, you become resentful. And now you're becoming, a bit of a man, and you're getting not much taller, but you're getting a little taller. And you're like, hey, don't, and you start getting violent thoughts. And I said, this is not right. I don't want to go down that road. There's no future in that. I want to go with what Holy Family's talking about. I like this whole idea of going to college. I like this whole idea of having a future. And I thought I could probably maybe be a writer. Maybe I can, because they talk about college fairs and they say, hey, come, I like this stuff. I don't want to go down this road. But what do I do? How do I let go of this pain? I've always been a writer, and I began to seek my answer through writing. And I wrote another piece. It's called Simmering Memory, and it was a poem that helped me deal with the pain of the past. And I share it with the boys, I share it with the youth, I share it with anyone who may be struggling with something that they're trying to let go of, an incident, or just don't know how to forgive. It goes like this. I recall many times being hurt, and the infection of recollection makes things worse. The thought of being violated gets me steaming hot, and it's a permanent part of my memory, whether I like it or not. Now, I wish I could erase it or misplace it, but I can't. So I face it, and when I'm done, remember good things to chase it down as I swallow, but my belly feels hollow from a hole left by that pain I borrowed. Straight from the past, hurts worse than bad gas. A feeling that's killing me, and it won't pass. It just lasts. Until at last I'm through with it. I let it go and don't care what happened and who did it. It's over, it's finished, can't fix it or mend it. Why stay here suspended, offended, let's end it. So I send it back to its home from where it came, but that trip is short because that home is my brain. So the bitter residue of shame is baggage unclaimed, and I remain in the same pain, unchanged. But I've got to get rid of it. But I keep it, so I must love it. I can't shove it, rise above it, and I can't help but think of it. You may sit there and wonder and ask me, what is it? It's that deep dark tunnel I hate to revisit. It's that thing he did, or that thing she said. It's that bad situation still stuck in my head. The time when I was ridiculed, laughed at, taunted, criticized, accused, misused, and unwanted, left out, put down, patronized, neglected, lied on, spied on, belittled, disrespected, intellectually, emotionally, mentally insulted, attacked, yes, and visibly, physically assaulted. This intense offense makes no sense. I'm convinced, and I can't help but hurt when I'm trespassed against. But I want to move on. I want to forgive. Because pain in one's heart is no way to live, because hurt leads to hate. And hate equals danger. But it's hard to let go when there's justified anger. But let go I must if I choose to be free. If I don't let it go, it won't let go of me. But how do I do it? What makes me release it? How do I get rid of what he did and she said? When the pain has occurred, it's stuck in existence. To survive, must I hide and live life in resistance? Always defensive, unsure, apprehensive, that life is not right, it's uptight and expensive. To hide from my thoughts, ignore what I know, to feel like a victim, but not let it show. And the person who did it, sometimes they don't get it. How can I show mercy when they can't admit it? Admit you were wrong. Now that just might please me. Own up to your fault. That would make my job easy. Forgiveness would flow. Then I could let it go. Extinguish that burn. But it's still on their terms. What if they don't feel sorry? What if they don't fess up? What if they just don't care? Then I guess I'm just messed up. And I'm stuck in my anger. That painful position. So I've learned to forgive without any conditions. Not based on their actions, their kindness or hardness, but based on God's love. I will love them regardless, like Christ did for me. By his blood I was bought. He died for my sin, though my sin was my fault. So now I'm forgiven for the times that I blew it. My debt has been paid because he chose to do it. And now from his mercy I find myself free. I'll now give to others what God gave to me. The ones who have hurt me, I set free at last. I'll leave all that nonsense and pain in my past. But if it comes back and stares me in my face, I'll tell it that grace has taken its place. I'm no longer trapped. I can live with new energy, content with my thoughts. I have peace with my memory. Renewed in my mind, I can be more reflective. I remember those things, but with a brand new perspective. Now, it doesn't mean they weren't wrong, because they were. That's the truth. But they can now be made right, and grace is my proof. So the ones who have hurt me, I now see their need. I'll look at each person as God looks at me. God looks with his love, and with his love I can see. And when I see as he does, and that makes me free. And that's simmering memory, y'all.
You got 20 minutes.
I've got 20 minutes. Okay.
You got to preach, so you got to be here in 20 minutes. I have to leave before you do.
You got to. What I want to do.
So 10 minutes till somebody.
Okay, we get.
Be the timekeeper. And
I won't be able to get every detail of my story. I want to leave time for questions as well. But right now, what I want to do is bring up Miss Cynthia to kind of share a little bit about. Well, we have chapel once a week, and I'm the chapel leader. And I give a lesson. And anybody ever been to chapel, Holy Family Chapel? If you haven't been, yeah, you've been. Yeah. Come, if you haven't been there, come on through. It's probably like no other chapel. It's real high energy, a lot of fun, similar to what my style is right now. Once a week, and the students have an opportunity to write about what last week's lesson was, and I think Cynthia's going to share.
Will you set me up for this is about the label one that we preached on that day.
No, go ahead.
Oh, you want to listen?
No, break it down,
Okay.
do your thing.
So, greetings everyone. I'm Cynthia Schmidt. I'm the Outreach Director of Holy Family. Very privileged to serve an organization that started, as Chaplain Hunter mentioned, with 45 children in 1985. Today serves nearly 600 children, inner city children, combined enrollment, and it's a joy to see God working. His hand is so prevalent on the west side of Chicago, and such good news comes out of a place where you often hear not very good news coming through the media. But our kids are exceeding and succeeding and exceeding from test scores to so many of the areas that they're focused in academically and otherwise. Chaplain Hunter does one of my favorite in chapel. He does one of my favorite sermons about no one can label you. So Principal Collins then assigns whatever his sermon was in chapel, assigns the reflection, as he said, and every grade they either draw pictures from kindergarten on, and the older kids write what that sermon meant to them, and so they're just priceless. We have hanging up all over the office and all over the school because they're inspirational to us in our work. And this one came from Micah Baker. Is he in sixth? Is he a sixth grade?
That's actually a girl. Yeah.
Oh, it is.
That's Micah.
She's
Yeah.
in.
She's 8th grade.
8th grade.
Yep.
So this Chaplain Hunter had talked about no one can label us. So the title of it was, "It is not what the label says, it's about what God says." And she writes, "It is not what the label says, it's about what God says about you. When people talk about you or call you names, don't break down, because only God can label you. In today's society, many people are victims of bullying, and the ones who bully others think that is acceptable. No, it isn't. You should always be encouraged to treat others how you want to be treated. That means that instead of focusing on the negative features of the person, always look at the most positive features. Believe it or not, giving a person a compliment can really make their day, and it'll make you feel better too. 1 Samuel 16:7 says, "But the Lord sees not what man sees. The Lord looks at the heart." This verse reassures us that He does not care about what other people think about you or what other people say about you, because we are His creations, and God makes no mistakes. When people try to label and tell you who you'll be in life or what you're going to do with your life, don't listen to them, because they're going to say what they're going to say, and it may or may not be true. Only God can be the final judge, because only God can label you. How's that? Good for all of us.
Yes.
Again, I extend an invitation to come down to chapel. David Fisher and others can provide information about transportation, or if you drive down, there's easy parking right behind the school, right at the school. 12 o'clock every Wednesday for the whole school year, but give us a call so that we can be sure to be on hand to greet you if you want to come down and visit. Thanks.
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get ready to close my portion of the talk, and we'll leave it open for any questions. And I think we got church coming up real soon. I got to gear up for that as well. And then they'll still, I think if we have time, you can come up and maybe if you want to get a copy of pencil and pen. But there's another poem that I'm going to close with. It's not quite as long, but it's called Green, and I want to share it with you. Colors are wonderful. Colors are real. Colors can often express how you feel. Now, when Mama is sad, she calls it the blues. So when I'm sad, that's the color I use. I go to my mother and I reach for her hand. I tell her I'm blue, and she understands. When I'm feeling good, I think of Grandpappy. He wears yellow sweat socks whenever he's happy. Up on his wall on a big open space is the picture of one big round happy face. I smile like the picture, 'cause smiling is fun. It's happy and yellow and bright like the sun. But my favorite color would have to be green. It's something I learned from my sister Irene. She mixed up her paints fast in a circle with red paint and blue paint. She came up with purple. How did you do that with red paint and blue? She said, have a seat and I will show you. Then she told me to pick out two colors. Pick two that's special to you, my young brother. Now I thought for a moment, special to me. What colors are those and which ones could they be? Well, sometimes I'm happy and sometimes I'm sad. So yellow and blue were the colors I grabbed. I said to my sister, these colors, Irene. She took them and mixed them until they were green. And that's when I knew that green was my color. It spoke to me louder than all of the others. To me, sad was blue. Happy it isn't, but green means that yellow and happy are present. So when I feel green, part of me is blue, but green gives me hope, because yellow's there too. And it's dedicated to the people of Cabrini Green. Sometimes there's joy, and sometimes there's struggle, but there's always hope, Cabrini Green. So I think we'll open it up now for questions. How we doing so far? We good?
Yeah.
All right.
Fabulous.
Amen. Green. Like these little mugs. Look at it.
You mentioned your boys.
Yes.
Just tell us about them. How old are they and how many?
Yeah, I have two boys, Evan and Jacob. Evan is 11 and Jacob is just turned 9.
Okay.
Yeah, the wonder years.
Oh, yes.
This is a fun time, I tell you. I'm learning all the time.
What percentage of your students go on to college, do you know?
Do you have those staff numbers? They do.
Right now, what we're showing, the last 4 years, we had 100% of our students graduate and go on to high-performing high schools.
Yes.
Most of them on scholarships from the school due to the merit, do on merit based on their grades, so it's pretty exciting. And then we're looking right now, we're tracking with our alum, and we have about, we're looking at about 60 to 70% that go on to college and graduate, about 30% go into the workforce. They start their own businesses or they are employed in a viable employment situation.
Absolutely.
So, pretty amazing.
Relative to what in the neighborhood?
Relative to 50% dropout rate in the neighborhood, and I don't have the statistics of the kids coming through the Chicago public school system. I would assume that they're not tremendously high of those kids. We're pretty shocked with just with the test scores coming out of CPS.
Yeah.
We work closely with them in some of their charter schools, but even the charter schools are really struggling with some of the test scores. I think that CPS in Chicago, as well as we're part of an organization called National Schools That Can, and I think that charter schools were seen as somewhat as the panacea of inner city education, and we're finding that those test scores in some of those charter schools, which are part of the Chicago public school system, are still not able to get the kids' grades up. So we're seeing that one-on-one tutoring and that mentoring and the kind of faith-based life enrichment, treating the whole child, as they say, is really what's making a difference in getting our kids into high-performing high schools and on into college. And that's because of you. I mean, we can't close without saying thank you.
Absolutely.
Grace has been a partner since, first with St. Gregory Episcopal, and when we took those boys on and they became our own, we love them dearly, and then you came along and partnered with us, and we can't say thanks enough for your faith in us that we could carry on that wonderful tradition of St. Gregory's.
Absolutely. Yes.
I was down at Holy Family School a month ago, February 17th. It was my first exposure to the school, and Father Bob and I went down and by appointment, and Sin met us, and we were there for chapel, and which was part of an award ceremony, which I guess happens every quarter for kids who are recognized for achievement in their grades for the previous quarter, which was very, very enlightening and warming, heartwarming. I happened to wear a red sweater and blue pants.
just happened.
Which, just out of coincidence,
Yes.
which happened to be the school colors. So I was,
You blended right in.
You fit right in.
Sin strategically placed Bob and I among these children, and here I am sitting with kids who are dressed in red and blue. And I was sitting next to this young man named Brandon. I don't know Brandon's last name. He's in the fourth grade or
He's
third grade?
could be second grade. There are a couple of Brandon. Were you up to fourth grade?
Yeah,
Well,
he was in the
yeah,
Fourth grade Brandon.
grades.
Okay.
I think he's
Yeah.
a fourth grader.
Okay.
And at one point, Brandon and I had a conversation. At one point, Brandon, I think I'm probably listening to you, Leslie, reaches over and gives me a hug. And I said, "What is this about?" But I think what struck me was some of the facts behind the school. I think that Sin pointed out that it's on a first come, first served basis. The kids are not tested, they're not pre-tested, so whoever comes is, if the parents can put up, I guess, $2,000, then the remaining $6,000 is paid for by fundraising, charities, wherever the money may come from. It comes from foundations, the general public, whatnot. But these kids all do well. They are enthusiastic. They're polite. As soon as Brandon got his award, which was a book, he's sitting next to me and he's reading it. I mean, he can't wait to read the next book. And I was just amazed at how, you make this comment about the charter schools are not everything that we would like them to be, but still, it's such a step up from what these kids would have, where they would be otherwise. And so it was really, it was a special experience to be there, and I applaud you for what you all do.
Two shout outs to Liz Burns and Anita Holcomb. I see you joined us, our two more angels from Grace that have been very active over the years. Both Liz and Anita have been very much a part of Dr. Seuss Day that has been an important key volunteer day at Holy Family, and I hope you'll put it on your calendar for next year. It's called Read Across America and celebrates Dr. Seuss's birthday, but for us it's a chance to have we can have up to 100 volunteers. I think we had about 60 of them this year. It was pretty amazing, so we're really thrilled to be able to offer that volunteer opportunity. In the Grace notes, Father Bob listed every other opportunity, so many chances to come be with us. You can volunteer for a day, for an hour, forever. The kids won't let you go probably, but you can help a teacher in the classroom, put on help in an art class for a day, do a tech teaching. just come down and be with the kids, be their champion, be their companion. They just love having visitors, it's just part of it, so.
What participation do you expect out of the parents if they have a child in the school?
We try to get full participation. Of course, some parents will and some won't, but what we find is that most do. And they participate in the Black History Month celebrations. What's our other thing that we did?
Principal Collins started, and you might have been a part of this, it's called the Honor Parents.
Absolutely.
And it's just been quite remarkable. She was just sharing the update with me last week. And she has about 90% of parents
That's
now.
what I'm saying,
There's
yeah.
many single parents, but a few families are both parents. But they have their own report card, and the parents that get on board, you can see the transformation of the kids as they first come into school. They have their uniforms on, they're clean, they've got their homework done, and so then their parents, and we do this really for the school, an elaborate, very special, elegant dinner for all the honor parents at the end of the school year. And it's really a way to say thank you for them being 100% connected to their kids' success. So they're already giving up, sacrificing something to every parent is in. There's skin in the game,
Yeah,
as we
absolutely.
say. Every parent pays something, and there is somewhat of a sliding scale, but most parents are in for about $2,000, as Dirk said, and then we fundraise the rest. We scholarship every child between $5,000 and $6,000. But those parents that make that honor roll, parent honor roll, it's quite remarkable, their commitment to having their kids be successful.
They're becoming a force to be reckoned with. They really are.
And the sacrifices the parents put up with, I'm just always touched. I know Susan Work, our CEO, a year ago told me a story, and I was like, I'm glad that you heard that story, because if I heard it, I would just pay for that child's whole tuition myself. But Principal Collins has figured out how to help parents exactly as much as we can. But this was the story of the mom that came in, and we found out after the winter that her child had colds all the time, and there with some further conversation found out that she had kept the heat off most of the winter and just bundled all the kids up so that she would have enough money to pay for the tuition. And wow, like I said, it's a good thing. You just want to okay, no, you can't do that, but you just want to if you care that much, so your child will have a chance to break the cycle of poverty. What can I do to help? So, Liz.
Well, first of all, thank you. I'm certainly not. I'm one of many now at Grace Church. We're a growing group of support for the school. But I wondered if you could talk a little bit about how the students get to school, especially in light of the increased violence in the city of Chicago.
Yeah, we have a process system. Kids get picked up, and most parents will bring their kids to school.
Walk them or drive them if they can.
Absolutely. So it's pretty safe.
Right around our school, because we're in the Homan Square area, you might know that historic campus there that was where Sears Printing was. It was once the largest printing operation in the world. So right in that area on Homan Square, they kind of call it the bubble, right? It's a safe zone for the most part, but that's like a square, it's like a block. So we notice sometimes parents will, if they're on their way to work, many of them have 2 or 3 jobs, they'll at least drop their child close enough, and then all they have to do is walk in front of the community center and the Y, and then get safely to Holy Family. But it's some parts of it are a little bit treacherous, right?
Right. No, absolutely. More on the outskirts, you get but in that little area,
Yeah.
all eyes are
Watching
and working together. It's a pretty safe zone.
Assistant principal's been known to be out the back looking.
Oh yeah.
What area do you accept the children from? Is there, a restricted area that they come to the school? Any requirements or anyone in Chicago?
Most of them are local, but some have traveled. I got some South Side kids.
Yeah, they're starting to come because the schools in the South Side are.
Yeah. If they can get there, they can make it. We'll take them.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
First come, first served. Yep.
Is the school predominantly black students?
Predominantly, yes. We have some Latino students, a handful.
Are you at capacity now? for enrollment?
We just started the one more second grade, I think,
Yes,
right? I
we
think
did.
there's room, Learn Charter is renting 2 rooms, 2
Yes.
classrooms upstairs. They will finish that contract, I think, at the end of the year,
Mhm.
at the end of school year, so we'll have capacity for 2 more classrooms. And where the greatest waiting list is, I don't know. I have to check to see which grade level is where there's waiting lists right now. So we're getting there. Go ahead.
Hey, some of you know me, I'm David Fisher. I'm actually on the board of HFM, and I'd like to sort of say 2 things, if you don't mind. One is, for those of you, we've talked a little about coming down to chapel. The kids get Leslie once a week, and if you're not moved by what he says, I would say maybe you're not reading, or maybe you're hearing, because I find every time I hear him, I come out and I come away sort of charged up about sort of how I should be a better parent, or the things I think about. But I'd encourage you, if you haven't come down to the school, please do that. HFM is one of sort of the marquee, I think, 2 outreach efforts that the church has, and it only works if you get involved. And so all we're asking is, please come down to the school, and if it moves you, great, and if it doesn't, at least you've given it a chance. So I'd encourage you to do that. The other thing that I would tell you is, the reason that I'm on the board is, I went down to HFM on a Wednesday, and I heard Leslie speak, and obviously it moved me. And I was asked to talk about sort of my experience at HFM, and what I said was, HFM to me, with the school itself, was very unremarkable. People said, unremarkable? And I said, yeah, because I said, it would be exactly almost the same school that my kids go to, except we live in Western Springs. And to try to transplant what my kids have in a very nice school area, but there's a world of difference between Western Springs and the Homan Square area. And yet HFM is giving their students more or less the same opportunity that my kids have. And we've talked a little about parental involvement. Any research you read would suggest that that's one of the keys to success, is getting the parents involved. And $2,000 may or may not sound like a lot of money, but if you're only making $20,000 or $30,000, that's a huge sacrifice. The notion that you sacrifice your heat for school, I think, sort of says more than anything. Anyway, I can go on for a while. I'm not going to get charged up. I would just encourage, if there's one takeaway, is please come down. And if you are moved, Dirk's talked about his experience there. There are plenty of opportunities to sort of get more involved, whether it's tutoring, whether it's coming down to share your sort of professional experience with these kids. There are many opportunities, but it all starts with going down to see what's going on. So I'm off my soapbox.
Yes.